For me, Dragon Ball, as you can see, has meant everything to me. Linux, you've known me the longest out of everybody, and you know there's not been a day gone by that I never talked about Toriyama's work. Always, when I think about Dragon Ball, some people might think of it as just an action series, but to me, it is so much more, and that's what Toriyama's work did. It taught me a lot. Reason why Dragon Ball is my all-time favorite series growing up. It's not the best written work, no. Obviously, Toriyama, classic of him, he forgot things and there was contradictions, but at the end of the day, he made characters that made you feel, and each character you could relate to some way, some shape or form. This is a man who did a lot of research on different religions, different cultures, and he put all of it together to form this series that I think no matter where you were in the world, you could relate to it. Growing up, I had so many bonds that were formed. My brother, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys out there who have siblings, you and your siblings watched Dragon Ball. Me and my brother watched it growing up. I was very fortunate to watch Dragon Ball growing up with my stepfather, who would point out a lot of the good messages to me. I always related to Gohan when he was that peaceful character, and when 16 told him, and I think me and you talked about this recently, Rebecca, how he talked about it's not a sin to fight for the right cause, and stuff like that in a kid was teaching me a lot about life, the importance of protecting what you love. I learned a lot of hard work ethic through how hard Goku and Vegeta trained. That's something Toriyama really put in a lot of his work that really, once again, helped teach me growing up. I mentioned my stepfather. One of the things he had always mentioned to me, not just with that Gohan part where he went SS2 for the first time, I remember watching the battle with Majin Vegeta, Goku and Vegeta, their second fight, and he told me, he said, this is some good messages to learn in life. You see how Son Goku comes very far in life with his goals because he focuses on himself. Look at Vegeta though. That's how a lot of people are when they're angry and bitter and arrogant. So there's a lot to this fight, and he pointed out these messages to me, and it taught me. So when I look back in Dragon Ball, I'm not just looking back at a show that I really enjoyed as a kid, I'm looking back at something that also taught me a lot of values that I take with me to this day. Son Goku is a character that Toriyama created that always resonated with me, because with Son Goku, he always had that cheerful, happy-go-lucky personality, but determined to work hard, and that describes me a lot. I'm a very happy, cheerful guy, but at the same time, the same type of work ethic that Goku has when it comes to his training is the same that I've implemented with my work. And when it comes to Toriyama, his creative influence, we all know it completely so many different animes, Naruto, Bleach, a lot of them, One Piece, were inspired from Toriyama. You've heard Kishimoto, Oda, Kuba, they all were considered Toriyama to be their sensei, and that is because their own creative work was inspired from Dragon Ball, and the same thing goes for me. Linux, you worked on my short film Battle Deception that I'm still working on right now, but a lot of that stuff was inspired from Toriyama. The whole powering up and the energy ki blast, that is all because of how much Toriyama's work has had on me. My YouTube channel, I started it back in 2009. You can find a plethora of Dragon Ball content on this channel, and that's because of what Toriyama's work meant to me. You know, I also think about how Dragon Ball got me into voice acting, and thus I would eventually go on to conventions to get the opportunity to meet some of the cast and creators like Vic Mignogna, Chris Sabat, Sonny Strait, Kyle Hebert, Little Karibo, Team 4-Star, Laura Bailey, Travis Willingham, Justin Cook, and in fact, the last time I got to meet Chris Sabat, Rebecca Rose, you and I both together got to take a photo with him and Sean Schimmel, and I just look back like, wow, had Akira Toriyama never put his creativity via a pen to paper, I would have probably never met any of these talented people and got some time to talk to them about voice acting. And for as popular as Dragon Ball always was, one of the most powerful moments I got to witness in person at just how much Akira Toriyama's creativity really brought people together was the opening night. And you'll remember, Linux, because both me and you were doing a double live stream at the same time. It was seeing the sheer mass of humanity that came out to see Dragon Ball Super Broly on its opening night. That was incredible. The atmosphere was amazing at the theater, people cheering and booing. Heck, I remember Akira Toriyama's name when it flashed on the screen about him being the writer of the story, he got a huge ovation just for the sheer name on being on the screen. So just seeing that really brought so many people together, and that just shows you how great the bonds could be formed and strengthened through Toriyama's own creativity. I talk about bonds, friendships, all these three that I'm right here on this panel with. Friends, we met because of Dragon Ball. Well, technically, Linus, I think we met because we played the Naruto games, but it was Dragon Ball. When me and you started talking, how many hours back in high school in our early days of college did we spend talking in depth about Dragon Ball? And it was because of those conversations that I kind of started learning more about the writing. Like, I kind of learned from Toriyama what to do writing wise and what not to do, because like we said, Toriyama wasn't the best writer, but it taught me nonetheless a lot of things of those conversations. How many hours, Linux, did we just completely get engulfed in playing games? Tenkaichi 3, Budokai 3, Burst Limit, like, man, so many games, and that was with a lot of our friends. 2018, Kat, I met you, I think I was cosplaying 17, and your friend was cosplaying Piccolo, you were Trunks, and we all, man, we were just talking basically at the Dragon Ball cosplay shoot at the Anime Central convention, and when we started talking, you started just dropping these hardcore Dragon Ball facts. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never met a hardcore fan that has that much knowledge in person. Like, you gotta be on our podcast. It's been wonderful to have you, but that's because of Dragon Ball. Rebecca, me and you met in voice acting class, and I think I did some sort of voice where I was like, oh, this is the voice that I was doing, something that sounded like this, and you go like, you know who you sound like? Cell from Dragon Ball Z. And I turn to you and I say, perfect. And you were like, oh my gosh, yes. And we've been friends ever since then. So even the bonds I share with these three individuals here on this podcast, it's because of Dragon Ball that we all met. Rebecca, we made a short film also still in production, Goku Fanboy versus Vegeta Fangirl. Our love of Dragon Ball because of what Toriyama meant to us. Even Terrell, who helped us film that, the reason why he met me because I had my Dragon Ball hoodie on. He's like, yo, I need that hoodie. And it's just, man, everywhere I've gone, Dragon Ball's always followed me, and it just, man, my life would not be what it is creatively, professionally, or personally if it wasn't for Akira Toriyama's work. And when I got more in depth and learned about some of his other works, he really is the definition of persistence. Some people think that, oh, maybe he just started writing and drawing Dragon Ball and the rest is history. No, this man from the 1970s struggled. They did not want to approve his manga for much of anything. He kept getting rejected and rejected and rejected. And he's like, I'm not gonna stop until I make it. And then he made Dr. Slump in the early 1980s. And get this, he was already a multi-millionaire. He could have retired for the rest of his life after that. He was already an icon of Japan, but he still loved it, and he went on with Dragon Ball for 11 more years and became a global icon. It is just tremendous what Toriyama has done. He has affected so many people's lives, even if he never knew it when he was living. I hope now his spirit is able to see just how many lives he's touched. I will end on this note. Toriyama was a very secluded man and got to spend a lot of time with his family, and I am very thankful as we've gotten more information out about Toriyama even in his final years. I'm glad he got to spend that time with the people that mattered most to him. So for all that, I say, man, I will forever be thankful for what Toriyama Akira has done. When people die sometimes, you hear, it's great you're saying these things now, but where was that when they were living? I'm glad to say that I can look at Toriyama's work and know that before he passed away, I was talking about this man's work every day. And even after he's passed, I'm going to keep talking about it. And Dragon Ball is going to be passed down to the future. I'll share these last couple stories and I'll move on to you all. When I went to take my nephew to his first day of school, all these kids were walking around in Dragon Ball book bags. And I saw their parents picking them up wearing Dragon Ball hoodies. And I realized they have passed down Dragon Ball to the next generation. Even the following day after Toriyama passed, I'm in the store and I see this guy decked out in a Dragon Ball jacket. He's showing it to me. I'm showing him my Dragon Ball gear I got on. He had a son, probably about 7 years old. He gets in between us and says, I'm a Dragon Ball fan too. And I was like, that's awesome. You know, I gave him a fist bump and I go like, Dragon Ball forever. And this kid goes, Dragon Ball forever. And, you know, it just makes me touch, because that tells me that even though Toriyama's gone, his legacy is going to live on. This 7-year-old kid, Toriyama just passed a few days ago, and this kid so young in his life already that he's saying Dragon Ball forever. And I think that's the beautiful legacy of what Toriyama Akira leaves behind. Rebecca Rose, I will let you go from here because I know you have always mentioned you're a casual fan, and what I've always thought was remarkable about that is sometimes you have casual fans that they like a series, but they don't even know who the creator is. You know who Akira Toriyama was, and I remember after seeing Dragon Ball Super Broly, you made a tribute post to him saying, thank you so much for giving us Dragon Ball Super Broly. I always thought that was awesome, so let's take it away. What did Toriyama meant to you?
So, a lot like you, obviously, I did grow up with Dragon Ball. And for me, it was, I grew up with Sailor Moon as well. And my first anime that I really connected with my brother, we were watching Dragon Ball. And we would like jump on our trampoline and be like, Kamehameha, or like kick each other like in the air and like do these flips pretending to be them. And like you said, we were talking about before, my favorite quote of the entire well, I guess it's hard to say the entire Dragon Ball series, but for me in DBZ, when Android 16 is like, Gohan, you know, like it's not a sin to fight for what's right. Like some people, like words aren't gonna reach them. Like you're kind, but like this is what we have to do, and that to me always stuck with me because I was like, dang, you know, like you always hear like violence isn't the answer, and oh, shows like this that promote violence, it's bad, but it's not all about just being violent. It's about like discipline and fighting for what's right sometimes, and protecting people who are weak and who can't fight. So I did learn a lot in watching Dragon Ball. And Akira Toriyama in general, I did grow up playing Chrono Trigger too. And I remember the only reason I started playing it because I was like, oh, this looks like Dragon Ball. Like, it's exactly, it must be the artist who's doing it. And so I just got into it. I'm like, wow, that looks like Bulma with blonde hair. And so in that way, his art really like influenced me. And then, of course, there are other animes that I watched. I'm really not that far in as I should be, I guess, but I'm in like 250 of like One Piece. So I'm still like a baby One Pieceer or whatever you'd call him. But when I saw what Oda wrote too about Akira Toriyama, just like my heart is broken about like he was my sensei, he was someone I looked up to. It was so heartbreaking to see all that. And but like you said, it is very nice to know that people told them before, like while he was alive, how much they appreciated him, and I hope he knows how appreciated he was. And yeah, that was my influence, or that was Dragon Ball's influence on me.
Beautifully well said. Just to close things up here, just hearing everybody's experience, it just shows you what you can do. My mother always says, you never know how just being yourself can positively affect someone. And that's exactly what Toriyama did. Just being his fun self, writing and drawing gags and stuff. It forms all this. Rebecca, could you show everyone the shirt you have on? I have a good point to make about that.
Yes.
The OG Dragon Ball. Friends and
OG,
family.
yeah.
That's the theme that Toriyama put. Brings friends and families together like it did with us here, like it did with many of the millions of people around the world. That is what it's all about. And Lennox said something about him being creative writing. I thought no matter what flaws were ever in the writing, Toriyama was very creative. He wasn't a perfect person. That's why I'm glad he didn't make Son Goku a perfect person. I think that's what made Son Goku relatable, because it's the fact that, hey, we like him because of his flaws. We like him in spite of his flaws. And those are just more themes that Toriyama did so well at putting together. And I can clearly see here that he will not be forgotten. Dragon Ball will forever be a part of my life. And to that, I say, Toriyama, may you forever rest in Zenkai power. Thank you, Akira Toriyama.